the fun part of the event because we get to know this wonderful woman who has been appointed president. And by the way, welcome back. Happy New Year. Where did the time go over Christmas? I fell asleep and it was time to come back to work. That's all I remember. And so, but now we have a chance to talk to Ms. Mauge. Now, Ms. Mauge, you know, effective December the 8th, you were appointed interim president for CAU. And congratulations. So let's give her another big round of applause for that. Now, tell us what it was like when you got the call, and tell us anything you can about the progress in terms of the search for the new CAU president.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Burston. I'm going to be, one of the things you all are going to know about me is that I am very open, I'm very honest and transparent. When I got the call, I said, they asked if I would serve as interim president, and I said, absolutely not.
Because you were supposed to retire, right?
That's exactly right. I have been trying to retire for the last 3 years. And I got very close. So in October, I knew that in December that Dr. Thompson would be serving as the CFO. And that would be my ticket to go into retirement. But it didn't happen. So 2 months before I was supposed to retire, I got the call. I will tell you that I honestly believe that we don't order our steps, that God orders our steps, because my plan was to retire at a beach in Aruba, okay? Now, when I said absolutely not, and I started naming other people, and the person told me that, you know, if you do not take this, we'll have to go outside. And I should have known that that was a bait because the person knows how much I care about this university. Because when I first arrived, now going on 13 years.
13?
Yes.
Lucky 13 for you then, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
I had planned to stay only 1 year. And now I'm still here 13 years later. So I can answer the question, Amanda, why am I here? I know why I am here, because I care about what I do. And I believe that I have added value at this institution. I will tell you, when I first arrived, I saw so many opportunities to improve the financial condition of this university. And I will talk about that a little later on. And I felt good about retiring in December because I believe that I have brought this institution to greatness in terms of its financial sustainability. But I'm also concerned about continuity. Continuity means a lot to me. Institutions are closing. They're not just HBCUs, they're majority institutions. CFOs talk about institutions and their financial health all the time. So when I heard that we might bring someone from the outside, I stepped up again to the calling to say, no, I'd rather have continuity and for delay my going, I started to say vacation, but delay my retirement until the university finds an appropriate person to serve as the next president of this great institution.
Well, Ms. Mauge, thank you again for heeding the call, or listening to the call. Now tell us a little bit about the search for the new president.
The search is going along fine. Deborah Hart, Ms. Hart, is managing that from the institution's perspective with the board. They have a committee. There's a chair and a vice chair. They're co-chairs, and that's the vice chair of the board, which is Leonard Walker and Stephanie Russell. They're co-chairs. We have also engaged a search firm, and the search firm has been selected. It's Isaacson Miller, and Isaacson Miller is very familiar with the AUC Center because they found the president. They did the search for the president at Spelman as well as Morehouse College. And so now they'll get a chance to understand Clark Atlanta University in the Atlanta University Center.
Now, will the faculty, staff, and students have any input? Will there be any voices at the
Yes,
table?
all voices will be heard. We will have representation from faculty, staff, alumni, supporters, donors, and students. So we will include all constituents in the search, and there will be opportunities for them to interact with candidates.
Right now, we're entering the spring semester, and of course, your graduation will be in May. And how long do you think this process will take?
Well, I do not have a magic wand, okay, but the board anticipates that this will take 6 to 7 months. However, they have assured all of us that they will take the appropriate amount of time to make sure that they have the next great president.
Okay, great. Now, we're living in some interesting times here at CAU with all the recent staff changes that have occurred, of course, including yours truly. We were all surprised. And there's a little feeling of uneasiness on the campus. What can you share with the staff to kind of put us at ease during this period of transition?
Okay. Well, the first thing is that I've been here a very long time. I've probably been the longest serving CFO that this university have ever had, okay? So, and I think you can feel the financial stability of the institution, because when I first arrived, I was really concerned about how I was going to make payroll. And now we have, in terms of liquidity, we have 120 days of cash on hand. Okay, so that's really good.
Right.
I was telling Dr. Thompson that when we were meeting with our bankers, and I was talking about how to invest our cash, I said, oh, I have to take a break because this feels really hard. I didn't know where the next dollar was going to come from when I first took over, and now I am talking about investing excess cash. That's a totally different feeling, and it's a great feeling to have for a CFO, but it really did cause me to pause. The other thing is about the leadership team. The leadership of the cabinet, they've all been with the university at least 3 years, except for Dr. Thompson, and I'm still here.
And except for me as well, I'm still a newbie.
And well, so about 90%, of the leadership team have been here over 3 years. And I have received overwhelming commitments from all of them that they are willing to serve and support me in this leadership role. So I think that we will be able to continue doing what we have started and continue on a great path.
Now, tell me about your platform during your tenure as interim president. I heard you talk about the student experience. What does that mean?
Okay, and I do have a slide, and I don't know if you can see it, and it looks like a lot of wheels, okay? So it's not supposed to be a lot of wheels, but what I want, and I'm hoping that it's turning. I'm not sure if it's turning because it would lose the meaning if the wheels are not turning.
Yeah, if you press the mouse, the wheels will turn. We'll have turning wheels momentarily.
Okay.
I'm not turning.
And here is my vision. My vision is that we will, if you look around the campus, Dr. Johnson put up those signs that says, lift in every voice, okay? Which I think is appropriate because of the song, Lift in Every Voice, and the author of that being an alum. I want to continue with the mantra, lift in every voice. All of us have a voice, and it is going to take each and every one of you to support the mission and the vision of the university. So all of you have a voice, and we will try to listen to as many of you as possible to get an understanding of what you see as what we need to do in order to move this institution into further greatness. We're going to use our voice.
We have turning wheels now.
We have turning wheels.
Yes.
Great. And I envision us to lift our voices, okay, to leverage Clark Atlanta University's student experience It is going to be about the student experience. And if you look at the wheels, in the middle of that happens to be the CAU student experience. I don't want to use a traditional organizational chart because the organizational chart should look like this. The student is in the middle, okay? That's the big wheel. Yes. Now, in order for that wheel to continue to turn, all of us will play a role. When we fail at the role that we have been assigned to do, guess what? The big wheel won't turn anymore. And it only takes one car to cause that wheel not to turn. And so what I want to do is to start meeting with our students first. I had said that I would meet with the students to understand what is it that they are looking for. I will work with each and every one of you, including the cabinet and Dr. Bowles, to find out what is it that we can deliver to make your experience better. It does not mean that we can give you everything that you request. It does not mean that we will always say yes, okay? But we will promise, we will let you know what we can deliver, and we will make good on what we promise, okay? Now, I just want to emphasize, all of those wheels have to move together. Therefore, whatever we plan to do, we will all know what that is, and we will all agree to do that, because we cannot achieve student success unless we are all on the same page, and we all have to be moving in the same direction in order to make that happen.
Now, Ms. Mauge, let me ask you a question. Of course, you know, in Washington, that wonderful place north of us, there's a lot going on. How do you think the government shutdown and the stock market will affect the institution?
Well, I'll start with the stock market first. I got my statement yesterday, and I saw that I had lost 7%. So since the last quarter, so I was quite, disappointed. That means that all of you, if you are in the stock market, you have not gained anything. Yeah, 401s right. And all. So if you're 401k, you will see a decrease in earnings. The university will see a decrease in endowment. But we do make sure that we have the appropriate allocations so that we will minimize our when there's a down market, we will minimize the losses. We also will do planning around those losses as to how that will impact the university. The other thing is that the shutdown of the government, that is something that causes me to not get a full night's sleep, because I know that the IRS department is closed, and that could have an impact on our students in financial aid. But we know that from the Department of Ed, we already have our allocation for the full year, so that would not negatively impact us. The only thing that may impact us this year will be maybe with some of our grants with the researchers, if this shutdown lasts a long period of time. Now, we have a president, we can't count on any, what he says from day to day. So he says that, he's having a meeting tonight. So I'm not sure how long this will last. But if it's a short period of time, we will be fine. Once it becomes, into the months, then that's when I will start to work with all of you, especially Ms. Wilson, who is in charge of research and sponsor program. We've already met, and she has provided me with all the agencies that are partially closed and the ones that are fully closed and who's open. And then so we will tell you what the impact of that will be. Some of the ones that are closed, we probably won't be able to do our drawdowns, but as I said, we have sufficient cash flow to take us for 120 days. So I hope I can outlive the President Trump. And I am sure if it does not go past 6 months, we will be fine.
Oh, okay, Ms. Mauge. Now talk about your, give her a round of applause for that. We wish that as well. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about your engagement with the alumni, donors, and supporters, as well as doing a better job in promoting our schools.
Well, I plan to, and I've already received calls from the Alumni Association, and I plan to leverage the experience of Galen, who has a lot of experience working with the alumni. I am planning to meet with them at their appropriate meetings, but I also will probably have something where we bring everyone, like all the organizations and people who are not in the different alumni associations, invite all of the alumni to come to campus for an event, okay, just for them and to start to hear what are they looking for, what do they think, what have they found out about the university. So I definitely want to continue to engage our alumni. I want to engage our donors. We have $9 million to raise, okay, and we are $7 million from that. I'm not totally concerned because we always come up with about 5 or 6, but I will be working with institutional advancement, going out to talk to donors, talk to current donors, talk to future donors. So I will be working very closely with institutional advancement.
Okay, great. Now, one of the changes that you've made recently, or that was made recently, is in a new department called Eureka. We separated university relations from institutional advancement. Now, how do you think this particular change will help tell a great story about CAU?
Well, we've never had the resources to be able to tell our story. And by having a department that is with staff members that from university relations, I think we'll be in a better position to tell our story. We have a great story to tell. We just haven't been able to get that message right and get that message to the right folks. We are definitely going to fix that website so that the message, I've already told them, that we're fixing the website, and I'm giving them a certain amount of time to do that. And most of you know that I am very results oriented, okay? So I will always look for a timeline. And we are going to get that. And we just need more folks to help a story. I am also looking at folks that can help write things that we do and how to organize the things that we've already done in the past so that we can put that together. I'm very interested in doing an annual report for the university. Most of the universities that I'm familiar with, including my graduate alma mater, they do an annual report. And the annual report talks about, well, what happened at the university that year? It talks about the financials in a small page, in one page. And the CFO explains some basic things about the financials. Folks ask me all the time about the financials. And, you know, we have a good story to tell, but it's not printed anywhere. So you cannot reach person one by one. We have to find a better means of communicating our story to everyone that would have an interest in the university.
Now, to segue regarding as the past chief financial officer, and Ms. Mauge, I must admit, when I got here, I said, you know where every penny is buried. You really do. And in terms of the from a financial health of the institution, I know you mentioned it, and I think we have a slide as well.
Yes.
Are we on solid financial ground?
And I'd like to explain this a certain way. I'm not sure if that slide, do you have it? Okay.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, we do not have a slide that I like to talk from. And when I arrived at CAU, and I started looking at the financials, and I reached out to a lot of people, you know, to ask, help me. But I realized in higher ed, you have to manage the income statement first, okay? In corporate America, it's all about the balance sheet. But in higher ed, it's about the income statement because you must not spend more than you bring in, okay? So I spent a lot of time managing the income statement. We had $26 million in cash, okay?
As of
6/30/18, and we're still tracking. We have spent some of that money because what we wanted to do is to reduce our deferred maintenance. I don't know if you've been walking around the campus. Bonita is quite busy. We've been putting money into different academic buildings to help with the deferred maintenance. A lot of that comes from Title III, but a university is matching a lot of that. And we have been able to do that for the last 4 years. We have been making a dent in our deferred maintenance. But there are some ratios that I do measure, and they're looking very good, okay? One happens to be our primary reserve ratio. That's a ratio that talks about the adequate, that says, it answers the question, are resources adequate and flexible enough to support the mission of the institution? And you need to be able to answer that question for SACS accreditation as well. And so the benchmark for that, when you do that ratio, the benchmark is 4%, which means that 40%, if you have 4, it means that 40% of the year, or 4.8 months of the year, okay, you have adequate resources to support the mission. Now, we are at 8, okay? So that means that 80% of the year that we have adequate resources to support the mission of the university. That far exceeds the benchmark. So we are healthy. That means that we are in a strong financial position, okay? The other thing that we measure is the viability ratio. The viability ratio talks about, can you pay your debt? Can you make the principal and interest payment that you have for the institution? And I'll tell you a little bit about that. Yes, we can, okay?
You said, yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Okay. If you want to take a page from
That's
Obama,
yes,
we can. We have about $23 million in debt as of 6/30/18. I deliberately, that's the one item on the balance sheet besides cash that I deliberately managed very closely. I made sure that we did not borrow any money to fix anything that was owed, okay? What I wanted to do is to pay our debt off. We refinanced our debt at a much lower rate, okay, so that we could pay it off faster. And I did not increase the life cycle of any of our debt. We did not have to borrow. I wanted to make sure that we didn't have to borrow any money to pay our bills. And for the 9 years, we have not had to borrow a dime to pay any of the bills at CAU.
Now, Ms. Mauge, how much does it cost to run the institution on an annual basis? And what's the breakdown?
Our revenue is over $100 million, and our expenses are close to that. But for 2018, fiscal year 2018, we had excess of over $10 million, okay? So that means that our revenue exceeded our expenses, and that's how you get the cash. Okay. But I do want to say that the university is in a great position. First of all, if we want to grow, we have such little debt versus what assets we have that we could easily borrow the money to do what we want to do. Okay, and that was not by chance. That was a deliberate decision and action taken to get us there. So I want you to know that although we did not meet our enrollment targets for the fall, and yes, that had a $1+ million negative impact, but we planned and we've been doing well. Okay. So when you look at your net operating ratio, you are not judged by 1 year. You're judged by looking at a period of 5 years. What happened within that period? And if you have some very good years and only one bad year, that's not a negative, okay? Folks we don't look at our financial stability with 1 year, unless that 1 year is so bad that it's going to wipe everything out. But that's not where we are. So if we have a hiccup, like we didn't meet our enrollment, and you have a good planning process in place, which Dr. Marshall and the CFO have been meeting regularly just to see how we can overcome that and get back on track. And I think we'll be able to get back on track.
That sounds like great news. Let's give her a big hand for the great news. Now, Madam President, these are going to be rapid-fire questions, and let's talk about you, Lucille H. Mauge. Now, you have a wealth of high-level corporate and financial industry experience in international and domestic banking, insurance, and capital markets. You actually retired 13 years ago from the corporate world. Why in the world did you come out of retirement to work for CAU?
Okay. Well, I attended an HBCU, and when I was in corporate America, I served on the board of Winston-Salem State University, so I got to like higher ed. And but a friend of mine said there's a problem at CAU, and they need a chief compliance officer, and they have to find this chief compliance officer because they're in trouble with the federal government and with the Department of Justice. And that sounds really big and frightening. And they said, we're having a very difficult time, but would you come and help? I said, yes, I'll help. But I'm only going to do it for 1 year. That's all I can commit. All I can commit to. And I started. And when I started, I realized that I had a wealth of experience that I could share with the university and make a difference. So when I arrived, I did the chief compliance officer's position, but I never did one job, okay? And that might be my downfall, because I will see what needs to get done, and I will make sure that it gets done. So not only did I get this compliance program up and running, but I also saw all of the gaps that we had. And I started just doing those jobs as well. And so as long as I'm adding value, I just kept staying, and now I'm still here. But I do...
So you're in the 13th year or your 1 year commitment, right?
Yes, I'm in the 13th year of my 1 year commitment.
Now tell us, how many siblings, where are you from originally?
Oh, I am from Louisiana. I don't know if anyone's from Louisiana.
Are the Saints going to win the Super Bowl?
Yes, they are. They are.
Who that? Know that, right?
And so I'm from a small town called Natchitoches, Louisiana, and it's a college.
Say that again.
Natchitoches,
Louisiana.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, some of you may not know this, but I have 11 siblings.
11?
Yeah.
What number are you?
Number 3.
All right. Mm-hmm. And what advice did your parents give you about life and success?
Well, when you grow up with that many siblings, you're lucky if you can get, to see your mother every day.
Now, I'm from a family of 11. I'm number 9 of 11, so I understand.
But, parents make a difference in all of our lives. Our parents really make a difference. My father made a major difference in my life. My father had a grade school education. He was a mathematics genius. And because I was number 3, and I was very inquisitive as a child, and I was always getting into trouble, so my mother would always, during the summer, tell me that I would have to go to work with my father some days so that she could help with the other kids. And I did, but my father challenged me. I learned algebra very, very early. I did not know I was learning algebra. My father had a huge farm, and so we would go out, and he would say, okay, he had pecan trees, and he would say things like, there's so many pecan trees per acre, and you can get so many pounds, okay, of pecans per acre, and it costs X. This is what you could sell it for. And he would say things like, tell me now, how much will I make? And I would sit there and try to figure it out. Now, I did not know that my father really couldn't figure all of that out either, but he knew when I got the right answer. from instinct and from his experience. And I would give him an answer, and he said, no, that's the wrong answer. And so I would keep doing that. And so what my father told me is that no matter what you do, you have to find a way to be the best at that, okay? So, and you have to work extremely hard. And he said it doesn't matter what it takes to succeed, you have to always do your best. He says, I am not going to require my kids to be brilliant kids, but if you decide that you want to sweep the streets, you have to do that better than anybody else.
Right.
Because you may want to own the company that sweeps the streets, okay? So I'm a very hard worker. I'm very committed. I like to finish whatever I start.
And you received your MBA from Babson College and your BS in accounting from Southern University. Why Southern?
Well, and Sam is trying to get at my age, but I'm not going to land him. I grew up doing, when things were doing segregation, okay? Things were not integrated. So I had very little options. Southern was in all through grade school. I went to segregated school. I had used books. But my parents always instilled that I could do better. And so there were two options in Louisiana, because I couldn't afford a private school. I had to go to a state school, and it was Scramblin and Southern. And so I decided to go to Southern because most of the students who thought they were very smart was choosing Southern, and so I figured I'd choose Southern as well. And it was a wonderful experience. It was just a great experience.
Right, and you're also a former athlete. What sport?
I played basketball.
You played basketball?
Yes. Why? You thinking I could not play basketball?
Where's Coach? Coach?
I can't play now, but I did for a long time.
And how did that shape your
basketball helped me to understand the benefit of teamwork, okay? You have to be a team player because you only have one role on the team, and you need to know how the others support your role and how you support the others on the team. And so I'm big on teams. You will see me always talk about, who's going to do the work? How are we going to get this done? Who are the team members? Because that shaped me in terms of always looking for a team to get the job done.
Great. And the final question. Now, usually I work late, you work late, but typically you're the last one to leave. I see your car in the parking lot. So on most days. So during your downtime, what does Lucille H. Mauge do to relax, chill, get CAU out of her mind for a moment?
Okay, well, I don't have too many hobbies because, I spend most of my time here. I had a lot of hobbies before I came to CAU, but I had to give a lot of that up because I don't have a lot of free time. I wish I had more time. I give up my exercise time for CAU. I am the last person to leave. I used to leave between 8 and 9 o'clock every night because I still hear my father's voice. Even though he's not with us, it's still in my head. You must finish what you do, and you have to be the best at that. So, but I cannot give up. I'm a wine connoisseur.
What kind of wine?
Well, it's all types. I collect wine.
So you're a wine collector?
Yes.
Now, isn't there an organization for wine collectors?
Yes. I would like to become a sommelier when I leave CAU, because that's a lot of work to do that.
You won't leave, folks.
And a sommelier is someone who really can tell you about wines, not the names, so they don't have to say, oh, this is a bottle, this is a cab, and it is made by Deriche, or this is a Marlowe. They can just tell you without looking at any labels exactly what it is. They will be able to also talk about the vintage, the year. You just become your taste buds become so attuned that you are able to do that. But I also, I'm from Louisiana, and so I know how to cook.
Okay.
Okay.
Laissez-faire dépendant, Jose. Let the times roll, right?
Yes, and so some of you have probably had some of my cooking. I've had, thank you, Deborah.
Mrs. Hoyt clapped on that.
So I do cook, and I do make gumbos. Lance have had mine, I've had his, and he thinks his the best, but I believe I'm just a little better. And so I could also use those skills to help you raise some money, so we may be able to have some private dinners.
Well, great.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to say is that I do have downtime. 4 times a year, I have to relax, and I do go to a beach. I have a beach vacation 4 times a year. What I found out is that all work and no play make Jack a dull person, okay? So when I was in corporate America, one time I had a lot of stress, and I got ill. And then I realized that I didn't have enough, I wasn't doing other things.
Other things, right.
And so I started going on vacation, and I found out that water relaxes me. And that once I come back from a water vacation, I am ready to start all over. And I had one at Christmas time. So I'm ready to go.
Yeah, work balance makes the whole person. Would you chime up, we are one, Chris, as we close out this segment of the interview. Mrs. Mauge, Madam President, thank you very much. We learned a lot about you today. And as Dr. Bowles said, working together as a team, we are one. So can you turn up the volume so that everybody can hear it? And we have some challenging days ahead, but with all of us working together as one, we will succeed. Let's give Ms. Mauge another round of applause.